This week on Comic History, it's Robert Kirkman's Marvel Zombies. What's up guys, and welcome to another episode of Comic History, the weekly series where I go over the iconic origins and storylines in the world of comics. In this video, we're going to be delving into the horrific world of Marvel Zombies, written by Robert Kirkman, writer of one of my personal favorite comics of all time, The Walking Dead. Marvel Zombies came out in 2005 and serves as a sequel, spin-off of Marvel Crossover, and picks up directly where the story left off, with Magneto destroying Ultimate Reed Richards' interdimensional transporter, leaving himself stranded on Earth 2149. An alternate universe Earth where a zombie-like infection has spread and resulted in an apocalypse where all of the now zombified superheroes and villains have scoured the entire planet, devouring all of the regular humans, including their loved ones. The Marvel Zombies aren't your typical zombie either. They retain their personalities, intellect, and memories for the most part, though they are driven by an insatiable hunger for human flesh, which intensifies over time and causes them to think less and less clearly until they feed again. The story begins where Marvel Crossover left off, with Magneto having destroyed the transporter and found himself trapped in an apocalyptic Marvel universe with the zombified Avengers and X-Men facing him down. The zombified heroes tell Magneto to just give up and accept the inevitable, but even injured, Magneto has fight left in him, impaling many of them with metal objects before flying away. The zombies pursue him, and zombie Spider-Man runs out of web fluid, crashing to the ground and severing his leg in the fall, while Magneto uses Captain America, who was at some point promoted to Colonel America's, own shield to slice off the top half of his brain, showing that the zombie heroes can't feel pain or be killed by head injuries, when both turn out to be okay, or as close to okay as an undead flesh-eating former superhero can be. Magneto arms himself with Colonel America's shield and climbs a fire escape, noticing that the zombies were patrolling the skies looking for him, and then receiving a communication from his acolytes from the iconic 90s X-Men series, which I will be covering in future episodes, who in this timeline had managed to survive on Asteroid M, Magneto's orbiting base, which remained fully operational. Magneto's hope is renewed, and he says that he will find a way up to them, and that if they survived, others could too, giving them a chance to rebuild and reclaim the world. But then he's spotted by zombie Hawkeye, who shoots Magneto in the side with an arrow as Magneto uses Colonel America's shield to lop his head off, with Colonel America and the other heroes showing up and surrounding Magneto. Magneto refuses to accept defeat and continues fighting, bringing an entire building down on the zombie heroes and yelling out that they're in a city of steel and metal, and Magneto is the master of magnetism. He'll outlive them all. At this point, Janet Van Dyne, former wife of Hank Pym, currently Giant Man, aka the Wasp, enlarges from her shrunken state and bites into Magneto's neck, flying off with a chunk of him in her mouth that she says she can eat for days if she shrinks down. The other zombies surround him, preparing to take their share, and Magneto screams out that he hopes they all choke on him. Thor lifts Magneto up by his cape, but Hulk suddenly tries to claim the food for his own, grabbing Magneto's leg and accidentally ripping it clean off. Giant Man tells Hulk that that's all he gets, and the rest of the zombies proceed to devour Magneto alive. Temporarily able to think a little clearer after feeding, the zombies lay around and discuss what to do next, because as far as they know, there are no more humans left on Earth available to eat. Several of the zombie heroes note fucked up things happening to their zombified state. Spider-Man's leg is still hanging by a tendon, Bruce Banner reverts back from Hulk after he feeds, but still has all of the food he ate as Hulk in his stomach, which bursts his stomach lining as he turns and leaves him distended and bloated, and Wolverine's healing factor no longer works, though none of them feel any pain and are seemingly unable to be killed, even Colonel America, who leaves the top half of his brains on the ground. The zombies also don't actually get any nutrition from the food, they don't die from hunger, and the food they eat is just dissolved by how acidic their insides are. Spider-Man mourns what they've become, freaking out and yelling about how he ate Aunt May and Mary Jane, and Hank Pym tells him to shut up. After all, they've all eaten loved ones, including Jarvis, who each Avenger took a chunk out of while he was still alive. Bruce Banner asks for someone to hit him so that he could become Hulk before Magneto's bones burst through his body, and Thor, who as a zombie is unworthy of Mjolnir, smashes him in the face with an improvised hammer, though it doesn't work because Banner can't feel pain. Zombie Luke Cage notices something in the sky, and as the heroes turn around they see Silver Surfer for the first time, as in this universe he had yet to make his way to Earth. They decide that he looks like food, and before they can pursue him, he disappears as fast as they spotted him. The zombies discuss their plans, with Hank Pym striking off on his own, claiming to want to look for Janet, and the remainder of the zombies returning to the rest of their larger group with the plan to tell Iron Man that Magneto's body had been vaporized in the battle instead of admit that they ate it all themselves. When Hank thinks he's alone, he shrinks down and goes to his improvised lab, where he has the still human Black Panther continually drugged on an operating table, where Hank had been cutting pieces of him off periodically to eat himself and allow himself a clear head to try to figure out what to do next. While cutting off T'Challa's foot, Hank talks to the unconscious body and says that the thing that scares him is that he likes how human flesh tastes, and that even if things went back to normal, he doesn't think he could stop eating it. At this point, Janet, who had followed Hank to his lab and heard the whole thing, returns to full size and confronts him, with Hank telling her that he had to keep this all to himself because her and the others would eat Black Panther too quickly, and enraged, she demands that he start sharing with her or she'll tell the others. To which Hank grows in size and attacks her, grabbing her and then biting her head off, though he spits it out immediately, stating that that was a mistake. Other zombies taste horrible. Hank returns to eating T'Challa's foot, and T'Challa wakes up from the sedative saying, "Kill me." Colonel America and the group return to the rest of the zombified heroes and villains, immediately being confronted by a pissed off Tony Stark who sees right through their gas main story when Spider-Man freaks out over eating his wife and aunt again, and he sees Bruce Banner not the Hulk and literally bursting with Magneto's leg. They apologize and Iron Man says whatever, he would have done the same thing, and is just mad that he didn't get a piece himself. Iron Man and Cap have a conversation about the lack of food, suggesting that a few of them just disappear from the larger group and set out to search possible areas where some survivors could still be. At this point, Silver Surfer appears before them as the Herald of Galactus, and says that their planet was to be consumed and converted into energy to sustain his master. The zombies have no idea what the hell he's talking about, and leap up to feed on Silver Surfer. The zombies all swarm the Surfer, and Thor shatters his improvised hammer against his head, causing him to crash to the ground. Wolverine charges at Silver Surfer and tries to slice through his arm, but his adamantium is stopped at the skin and rips completely out of his arm, with his arm skin hanging down as his adamantium bones fall apart with no ligaments to hold them together. Zombie Banner finally becomes hungry enough to turn back into Zombie Hulk, grabbing Silver Surfer and yelling that Hulk is the strongest and the hungriest there is. And after getting his face fried by the power cosmic, he grabs Surfer by each arm and chomps his head completely off, with the other zombies scrambling to get a piece for themselves. Hank Pym, who had showed up late and not involved himself in the fight, gives the one-legged Spider-Man and Tony Stark, who had been sliced in half at the torso by Silver Surfer, a lift and grabs Surfer's body, ensuring that they all get a piece as well. At the end of the feeding, only a few of the heroes ended up getting a piece of Silver Surfer, and those characters find that from feasting on him, they have each gained a piece of the power cosmic, which they use to fry and destroy the other zombies present, showing that they can be killed by focused cosmic attacks. Meanwhile, T'Challa has woken up again and managed to escape Pym's lab, hobbling out with a wooden crutch and only one leg and one arm remaining. He's also carrying the severed head of Janet, who was his friend in life, who continually begs him to let her eat some of him, with him severely disturbed by her even asking. When T'Challa begins to lose hope, he's then confronted by Magneto's acolytes, who demand to know where their leader is. Meanwhile, Galactus appears on Earth, declaring that the world will be devoured to sustain him, but pausing a moment to ask where his herald is, and when Giant Man says they ate him, Galactus says, "You what?" The zombies swarm Galactus, but he easily fights them off, with the zombies eventually retreating to Hank Pym's lab, where he says they can find a way to hurt him. They find Janet's body, and when Hank notices T'Challa has escaped, he keeps the information to himself that he ever had him there in the first place. Elsewhere, Magneto's acolytes notice that Black Panther isn't a zombie, saying that they thought they were the only humans left. One of the acolytes says that Black Panther must be working with the zombies, because of his inexplicable survival and the fact that he's carrying Janet's zombified head. When he goes against orders and tries to kill Black Panther, T'Challa throws Janet's head at him, and she digs into his neck with glee as Panther fights off another acolyte who attacks him. The lead acolyte, Cortez, yells for the fighting to stop, and says that T'Challa can't be blamed for defending his life. T'Challa asks to return with them to Asteroid M, and Cortez accepts, saying that he could never leave another human being living on the planet with this going on. Panther also convinces them to allow him to bring the head of Janet Van Dyne, saying that she was his friend and that under supervision would not be a problem. At Pym's lab, Zombie Luke Cage and Zombie Spider-Man play cards while the big brains do their work on figuring out how to beat Galactus. And Colonel America returns with the last supply of vibranium from Wakanda, which he says has seen better days. Combined with crystals from Doctor Strange Laboratory and a few items from the Baxter Building and Doom supplies in Latveria, they set their goals on testing their new machine after finding out that the Silver Surfer's powers give them the ability to fly faster than a Quinjet, and that they could re-eat previously eaten bits of flesh by cutting holes in their bodies and removing them before they dissolved completely, giving them more time with clear heads to work. Once they assemble their machine, they return to Galactus and find all of the Spider-Man villains and a few others fighting him and keeping him busy. With the zombies distracted, Black Panther and the Acolytes return to Asteroid M, with T'Challa giving over Janet's head to their scientist Reynolds to use her to look for a cure, and then being approached by Forge, mutant technopath of the X-Men who survived with the Acolytes, who tells him he can help T'Challa with some prosthetic limbs. Noticing that the villains were actually doing some damage to Galactus, the zombie heroes all stand around their machine, which is essentially a giant gun which uses vibranium sheets to refract the power cosmic through Doctor Strange's magic crystals, and fire it at Galactus using all of their powers at once, and the beam smashes into Galactus twice before he topples over, scattering the zombie villains around him. When Galactus falls, the villains swarm around him, talking about how long they could eat off of him, but the zombie heroes approach and tell them that it's their kill, their feast, and the villains tell them that they're gonna have to fight for it. The hero and villain zombies then clash in an epic battle, with the zombified Eddie Brock Venom squaring off with Spider-Man, who notices that Venom is a lot less agile than he used to be, blasting him with the power cosmic and killing the symbiote, with zombified Eddie saying that the symbiote had been dying ever since he was turned, with him no longer being a suitable host. Wolverine blasts Zombie Juggernaut's head off with the power cosmic, and then squares off with Zombie Sabretooth as the Red Skull pulls Colonel America's remaining brains out of his head, saying that everything, the world ending and him being zombified, was all worth it for that moment. The heroes destroy the remaining villains with their cosmic powers, and then approach Galactus, who threatens them before they swarm him all at once, devouring the World Devourer in a massive feeding frenzy. 5 years later, T'Challa, Forge, and the Acolytes return to Earth, with Black Panther having married and had a child with one of the female Acolytes on board, and the head of Janet Van Dyne able to walk around in a robot body built for her by Reynolds. Their sensors show no signs of anyone on Earth, living or dead, and the entire planet appears to be empty, as if the zombies had either died or left the planet. Hendrix wonders how they would even do that, and T'Challa wonders where they would even go. On an alien planet across the galaxy, a sentient race notices the arrival of Galactus, but instead of the World Devourer, they see the zombified heroes of Earth, having gained portions of Galactus's power by consuming him, and using it to travel through the universe, devouring entire races of people in their wake. And that wraps up Marvel Zombies, written by Robert Kirkman. Marvel Zombies is a weird fucking book, but it's actually really fun to read, and there are some amazing character moments and fun things they're allowed to do in this universe that would never happen in a main Marvel continuity. I consider Marvel Zombies to be Marvel's equivalent and predecessor by far to the Injustice series in DC. It's got the same over-the-top nature and amazing random cool moments that make it interesting at the very least. The main thing to know about Marvel Zombies is that it's really not a superhero book, and that's the thing that distinguishes it for me. It's a horror book, and it reads like one. It's the crazy concept of taking a comic book universe and then turning it into a completely gruesome horror story, and then seeing where that takes you, and Kirkman has always shown the ability to follow a concept through each logical next step, i.e. The Walking Dead, and tell a good story with memorable characterizations while doing it. If people like this video, I may cover more Marvel Zombies stories in later episodes. This video covered the entire original series, but there's Marvel Zombies 2, which was also written by Kirkman, and then Marvel Zombies 3 through 5, which were questionable at best. Let me know if you'd like to see more Marvel Zombies in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and let me know what you'd like to see in the comment section. If there's a storyline, character, or origin you'd really like to see an episode of Comic History on, go check out our Patreon and donate at patreon.com/rnsentertainment. One of the donation rewards is to commission any story you want, both helping the channel grow and getting content specifically for you. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Roman_RNS, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our gaming channel RNS Gaming, and I'll see you guys next time.